So let's dive in. So the St. Louis Fed, we're talking about the St. Louis Fed. The St. Louis Fed is a great source of numbers. And if you take the time to go there, you don't really have to, but every now and then you may see an article in the paper or someplace that talks about the St. Louis Fed, and that's usually a source of numbers. And what was interesting is to go to look at the history of rate hikes in America to see just how steep the 2022 rate hike was in response to the inflation that followed the printing of money, trillions of dollars printed, which followed the COVID 30-month, COVID where we all shut down. So about 2 years of COVID and everything that went along with that, then printed a bunch of money, inflation went amok, and we started raising rates. So here is a chart here, the first chart from the St. Louis Fed, and it shows you how many months since a hike cycle began. And we can all see that with a couple of exceptions, you're going to see on the chart here, and for those of you that are listening on Spotify, let me narrate this a little bit. So in 1999 to 2000, there was a quick recession, but it was pretty intense. And some people called that the nuclear winter because it was like fast, but it was intense. And so you can see that it only took about 12 months to raise the total Fed rate 2%. Now that usually happens a half or a quarter or percent at a time. So 0.5%, 1%, 1.5%, 2%. That would be 4 rate hikes over a year. That would be pretty dramatic. I mean, you can see there, 1999 only took about 12 months to do that. Then we had the 04 to 06 rate hike that happened right before, remember 2008 was the big financial crisis. So you can see that over a 24-month period, they raised rates 4 percentage points. So that's the Fed. So you see that's a steady climb. That's like 1% a year for 1.25% a year for 3 years, a very steady green line there. But now if you want to go take a look at the rate hike that happened from 2015 to 2018, so that's the 3 years of gentle rate hikes that happened before COVID happened, end of 19, we all learned what the Wuhan lab was. Beginning of 2020, oh my God! We canceled hockey, we canceled March Madness, we canceled, the NBA season, everything. But anyway, you see the blue line is very gradual. It only raised rates 2% over 36 months. So it was a very gradual rate hike. Then you see the last line. And it's almost like watching, bamboo grow. Bamboo grows very fast. It is a straight up line over 12 months, and it was a 5-point rate hike. Now remember, inflation was 8, 9, 10, 11%, depending on who you believe, and the government was talking about some of that. So remember, you don't believe the government if their lips are moving. That's a simple rule of thumb. But you can see what happened there, 5 percentage rates up from 2022-23. So you can see that the 2022, that year of rate hikes, has been the most dramatic, 3 times as fast as 2015 to 18, 2 times as fast as 2004 to 2006, 3 times, and then twice as fast as 1999 to 2000, but it was 5 percentage points, whereas 15 to 18 was only 2 percentage points. 4 to 6 was only 4 percentage points, and 1999 to 2000 was 2 percentage points. And so you can see how dramatic that was. And so the lesson here is that we are living in unprecedented times. So everybody's waiting for the rates to drop just as fast, and it's just not going to happen. And so if you're listening, it's time for a longer term 5-year view, and that's what I'm going to do when we do the case study on mortgages when I go to the board in just a few minutes. But first, the question is, well, we're hearing that maybe some's going to do it down a little bit here at Biz Doc. So what is that? Take a look at this calendar. This next chart is the calendar of the Fed. And so the Fed met January 30th to 31st. They did a press conference. They said, hey, not going to be lowering rates 4 times this year. We don't think so. They meet about every 6-7 weeks. Then they came back on March 19th and 20th, and they said, probably only 3 rate drops. The next time they're going to be meeting is April 30th, May 1st, and then June 11th and 12th, and July 30th and 31st. So think about this. April 30th to May 1st is around the corner, and we do not think we're going to get a rate cut, because remember, that's in 4 weeks from now. It's April Fool's right now, 28 days, 29th, bang, next 2 days after that. So we are 4 weeks and 2 days from the meeting. Now, if you're listening to this in the future, the same rules apply. You may be listening to this in 2025, 2026, but the Fed meets every 6-7 weeks, and you can look at it and see, well, the Fed is a big indicator of what's going to happen to mortgages, and so you can kind of, gauge yourself. But we do not think here in 24 that we're going to get a rate cut on April 30th, May 1st. We do think we're going to get a 0.25 rate cut on June 11th and 12th, nothing on July 30th and 31st, and then a quarter point on September 17th and 18th, and then maybe another quarter point November 6th and 7th. Why? The Fed wants to see inflation down to 2%. It doesn't want to see a lot of layoffs. It doesn't want to see a lot of economic uncertainty. And then there's the 3 rate cuts that we get, which would be 0.75, 0.75% this year, which would only take the rates down, the federal rates. Remember, that's the rate that the banks borrow from the federal government, only would take that rate down to like 4 3/4 or something like that, maybe 4.5. But that's it. So that's people ask the question about, when rates go up so fast, do they come down so fast? So the answer to the question that I got in the comments is no, they usually don't. They usually come down gradually, unless there's like a major market crash or a COVID recession or something crazy, and they drop the rates low to give businesses the option of borrowing money super cheap to keep jobs in the economy. But if there's not some radical bad news, then rates go down. So the only way you benefit is if you've got money in the bank and the economy burps and your money is not affected, and now the rates go down, housing prices go down, you can take advantage of the situation. Most people are not in that situation. So that's the story of rates, and that's the way it works, and I hope that's helpful to you.